In this video, I go over my top 10 picks for New Comic Book Day, July 7th, 2021. What's going on, guys? Justin here, aka No Good Comics, and welcome back to the channel. If you are pumped for some new comic books coming out July 7th, 2021, then you're at the right place. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate everybody who's been supporting the channel. Before I get into my top 10 list or my top 10 picks for next week, I do want to just give a quick reminder that I have a giveaway that's going on right now. I just recently crossed 750 subscribers. So if you did not see the giveaway video, make sure you go over to the rest of my channel and, or actually I'll put a link in the description below, but make sure you check that out and enter so that you have a chance to win some of the books that I'm giving away. I'm actually going to have the cutoff date be July 4th. 6 o'clock Eastern time, so make sure you do it before this Sunday, July 4th, and then on Monday, July 5th is when I will do the actual raffle. I'll do that live, so I'll have a live stream set up, maybe have a couple friends come join me, and so I'll have all those details come out over on my Instagram account later in this week. So you're watching this right now Thursday. If you're here right now in the premiere, the live chat premiere, appreciate you taking that time to do so. If you're ever wanting to catch this as a premiered video, make sure you do so every Thursday, 12:30 Eastern is when I have these premiere. So if you're here right now, hanging out in the chat, thank you so much for taking that time. Shout out to you. Make sure you smash that like button. But I do appreciate you all taking the time to spend, just hang out with me here while I go over my top 10 picks. So I always like to clarify, these are top 10 picks that I'm excited for. The books that I'm about to show you are books that either I'm reading or I'm just interested in if it's an issue number 1. These are books that I plan on buying either physically or digitally somehow so that I can get my hands on them so I can read them and see where these stories go. So this week was a huge week. There was so many new books coming out for July 7th, and so it was hard for me to trim this down. I will say I messed up, or I had the wrong information for one of the books last week on my top 10. If you missed last week, I had Wonder Girl, I'll put it here, Joelle Jones, issue number 2, I had as my number 2 pick last week, which is really high up on the list, and I'm loving it. Just turns out it didn't come out last week. It's coming out July 7th. So it's not going to be on this particular list just because I already talked about it in that last video. If you missed it, go check it out. All the reasons why you should be, or why I'm excited for Wonder Girl, and maybe why you should check it out and explore a little bit of what Joelle Jones is doing with the new character. But otherwise, if I didn't make that mistake, it would be on this top 10 list. So it would probably be 1 or 2 this week, although it's really tough because there's a lot of great books coming out for July 7th. So yeah, we'll dive into the list, but I just wanted to give a shout out to this particular book, Wonder Girl issue number 2, which is also coming out this week. It is certainly part of the top 10, even though I shouted it out last video. Anyways, let's get into this top 10 right now. Let's start out with number 10, and my number 10 pick is going to be Ordinary Gods issue number 1. This is an Image comic book. This is obviously number 1, so I don't know too much about it. The first thing that caught my surprise or caught my attention was Kyle Higgins is writing it. And now, if you don't know Kyle Higgins, he is the one that's currently writing Radiant Black, and I'm loving Radiant Black. I think that was a book I talked about last week for New Comic Book Day as well. And so I'm just interested in it in general. My rule of thumb for a lot of these indie books, I try to get issue number 1s no matter what. And so I'm throwing this up on my top 10, Ordinary Gods. Just to look at the beginning of it, it kind of says for fans, for the fans of Old Guard or God Country, basically comes this epic adventure from what they've put. It says the Luminary, the Prodigy, the Brute, the Trickster, the Innovator, 5 gods from a realm beyond our own, leaders in the War of Immortals. At least they were before they were trapped, sent to a planet, made into a prison, forced into an endless cycle of human death and reincarnation. Wow. Christopher is 22. He's got 2 loving parents and a 12-year-old sister. He works at a paint store. He's in therapy, and he's one of the 5. That's interesting. So, which means in order to save everyone he cares about, Christopher will need to reconnect with his past lives and do the unthinkable, become a god again. So that just sounds awesome. That's just a little description that I'm reading here. But Ordinary Gods issue number 1, that's making the list. So shout out to Kyle Higgins for just some of the great work he does with Radiant Black. And again, one of the reasons why I am interested in this one. They also have Felipe Watanabe doing the actual artwork from what it looks like. Also did this cover that we're looking at here. So shout out to him. He's worked on The Flash. So yeah, that's my number 10 pick of the week. Ordinary Gods, issue number 1. Going into number 9, I'm going to jump back to this book right here, Out of Body, issue number 2. This is another Aftershock book. I've talked about issue number 1 when that came out. I ended up loving this first book that came out. This is issue number 2 right now, so I am all about it. Really looking forward to where they go next. I think this is going to be a 5-issue miniseries, as most of the Aftershock books are, at least recently. Peter Milligan is doing the writing on this. And Inaki Miranda is doing the artwork. And if you don't know, Miranda is the one that does the artwork for We Live. And that's another book that I've just been obsessed with recently. So really trippy and interesting storyline that kind of kicks this off. There's kind of 2 stories that are folding or that are opening up essentially in issue number 1, where there is this woman who can speak to individuals out of body, like using astral projection to do so. And she has this calling to this one particular guy who is in a really bad situation. Basically, this guy got jumped. I think he's a doctor. And he got attacked somehow. His memory is like coming back to him little by little. Basically, he wakes up in the hospital and knows what's going on around him. He can hear things, he can understand things, but he can't react. He's what they think is that he's in a coma, essentially. But he's not. He can like hear them, and he just doesn't understand what's going on. And at one point, like, he has his girlfriend come in and visit him, or like his side girl, because I think he's married or whatever. But this woman that he works with comes in and like thinks she's doing him a favor by giving him some sort of drug. She thinks, well, it's either going to kill you, or if it doesn't, or it's not kill you, but it's supposed to like take away any pain that you're in. And she said, if it doesn't work, then you're going to just be tripping. Turns out he starts tripping, and his body, the astral, he ends up going into the astral plane. He has this out of body experience, essentially. But anyway, so the girl from the witch that can communicate with them, she gets drawn into wanting to help this guy. And meanwhile, he's trying to figure out what happened to him. There seems to be an attack, but the full story is not there. There's a police officer involved trying to figure all this out. Anyways, a lot of detail, but I definitely recommend it. So if you haven't read issue number 1, go back and read issue number 1. This is issue number 2 coming out, Out of Body, issue number 2, and that is my number 9 pick on the week. Let's go into number 8 here. Again, this is tough, man. There's so many great books, and I had to really, I feel weird putting this next one at the spot that it's in, but I have to, just because of all the other books, how great everything is. Hollow Heart, issue number 5. That is my number 8 pick on the week. I was just talking to my buddy, 50 Cent Collector, over on Instagram. We were talking a little bit about this. He was asking, he read issue 1, thought it was okay, didn't really get too much into it. He was asking me if he thought it was worth getting into issue number 2. This is issue number 5. I've read the first 3 issues. I've loved this series. If you guys have been following me, you know how much I really am into Hollow Heart. It is a very passionate, emotional roller coaster of a story. It is definitely not your typical comic book. There is no, hero and villain in the terms of, superpowers and stuff like that. But it's basically about a gentleman named L, who used to be human, and now he's turned like 80% robot, essentially. And the only thing we know is that he's in this laboratory, and he's getting like tested and tortured as these scientists are trying to learn from him. And he's really just going through a lot of pain. He is trying to escape. He doesn't want to live, all these different things. And then there's this mechanic who wants to essentially help him get out. And it kind of turns into this like mixture of like a love story. It ties into like a relatable type of story where, we think that we're doing the right things for our loved ones, and maybe it's not necessarily the right things. There are many reasons why we want to escape certain things. I should just say there's a lot of different messages within messages for this particular book, and there's a lot of different things I think you could take away from. So issue number 1, I actually did a breakdown with Jeremy from Sparks Comics. Jeremy, shout out to you. His information's in the link below as well. But he and I talked about issue 1. So if you're curious about some of these metaphors and things that I talked about, go check that out. Otherwise, this is issue number 5. I think this is going to wrap things up. I don't think this is an ongoing. I'll have to see, but I love it. I absolutely love it. The artwork is great as well. It's by 2 different Pauls. I know the writer, Paul Alor, and then Paul Tucker doing the artwork and this particular cover here that we're looking at. So yes, very passionate story, very unique, very different, and really well done with the storytelling. Very, very, again, just very unique. So I definitely recommend it. That's going to be my number 8 pick on the week. And yeah, Hollow Heart issue number 5. And that's a Vault comic book, by the way. Vault doing some good things over there. So, all right, next up I want to go with another Image comic, KARMEN issue number 5. This is wrapping up this particular story. If you guys have not been on it, but you are curious about it, this might be a good way to jump in, is to just wait for the trade now at this point. But this is issue number 5, the kind of finale of where this is going. Gilliam March is the one that's doing the writing and the artwork. And man, Gilliam March is just a very talented dude. He is it's so good. KARMEN, it deals with a lot of heavier topics. Heavier topics, one being suicide, and kind of seeing the basically this girl who essentially takes her own life is kind of in this purgatory life at the moment, and she meets KARMEN. KARMEN is like this kind of middle of the road ghost that kind of shows her this purgatory life, and the character kind of goes through a lot of different emotions and learning a lot of different things where she can still see and hear people living on Earth, like, that are still alive, but they can't interact with her, they don't see her, and she learns a lot about what she had in her life and how that kind of makes her look. Meanwhile, there's like this whole other story with KARMEN and this like whole system that they have with this purgatory life. Anyways, I won't get to any more details than that, but it's a really interesting story. I'm really enjoying it. The artwork is beautiful, and yeah, so that's KARMEN number 5 is going to be my pick for, where am I at? 7, my number 7 pick on the week. And like I always clarify, these books really could be mixed and matched, moved around a little bit when I'm counting down. You know, I try to save the best for number 1, but really all these are like a top 3 for me, I think, and KARMEN being one of them. So, so let's see, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, so let's get into my number 6 pick, and I have to go with GEIGER issue number 4. This has just been such an awesome series. Every single book has been a home run, in my opinion. I'm really enjoying it. Jeff Johns doing a tremendous job on just this world building, this creation that he's kind of developed in this whole new world of where essentially the people, it takes place in the future, and basically the entire world is radioactive. You can't go out without some sort of hazmat suit or something, otherwise you'll get radiation and you'll die. So except for one guy, and this particular guy's name's GEIGER. For whatever reason, he actually can travel the world or walk around Earth without having to wear a hazmat suit. He also essentially has this couple special extra abilities, and it kind of reminds me of like Ghost Rider. I always kind of compare this book to like if Ghost Rider met Rambo, kind of the two of those, because he's kind of like this outcast outsider who's trying to just survive. And there's of course like this villain who's this like this brat of a young king who really has it coming, deserves a backhand or so, because he's just like kind of like King Joffrey from Game of Thrones, so kind of like a bratty type of king like that. But anyways, so it's a really cool story. GEIGER, we're learning a little bit more about his family, his past, how he got to where he is today. And he's kind of looked at as like this legend, this guy that, it's a myth. Does he exist? Does he not exist? The king essentially hates him. He wants him eliminated from the earth, all this stuff. And he has all these henchmen that are trying to do so, for GEIGER. So, there's a lot more to it, but definitely check it out. Jeff Johns doing the writing and Gary Frank on the artwork. Everything about it. Just loving the whole thing. So that's going to be my number 6 pick on the week, is GEIGER issue number 4. Let's get into, we're halfway through this list, so let's get into my number 5 pick of the week, and that has to go to Basilisk issue number 2. This is a Cullen Bunn series that has come out, just a month ago, issue number 1, and I have to say, so I loved issue number 1. I do think issue 1 was almost like more of like a half written. Like, I feel like issue 1 and issue 2 are going to be what I think issue 1 was supposed to be. That's like kind of my guess. I just feel like there was still a lot more room that could have been shared, and we just didn't get all of it, I guess. But either way, it was still really well done. I still really enjoyed what I did read in issue 1. It was kind of a quick read, though. So again, I think I'd want, or I'm looking for that issue 2 just to kind of gain a little bit more. But it's a really interesting concept of like these 5 members of what they call the Chimera, where they randomly showed up in this town, and they were killing people and a lot of crazy things. But basically, one of the 5 realized like what they were doing and how wrong it was, and basically separated themselves from the pact. And now there is this human who basically captures this one individual, one of the 5 that has separated themselves, and is using this individual to hunt down the others. So it's a dark book. It is a horror type book. So Cullen Bunn doing a lot of that lately. And, the artwork is just tremendous as well. Let's see. The art is by Jonas Scarf, who, I'm not very familiar with, but, really enjoying that. This is the artwork, on the front cover here that you can see. So, these 5 individuals, they all have these superpowers, and that's kind of the gist of it. So, really interesting stuff. But like I said, I think we need a little bit more, and hopefully issue number 2 provides that for us. By the way, I just noticed Martin Simmons has a variant cover coming out, I guess a cover B. So if this is it, and there's an incentive. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. All right, here it is. I'll put this up, but that is the Martin Simmons. I usually don't show cover Bs, but I'm a sucker for anything Martin Simmons has been putting out, man. I love, if you don't know, he's the artist, the main artist for Department of Truth. So I'll probably be buying that as well. So very cool. So that's my number 5 pick on the week. Basilisk issue number 2 from Boom Studios. Shout out to them, doing some great work, putting out a lot of great series right now. Let's see. All right, let's go into my number 4 pick, which this is a DC book. Technically, I kind of forget that it is, though, because it just kind of rides off on its own. It is The Nice House on the Lake, issue number 2. And this is a James Tynion book that has it blew my mind when I read the first issue. My goodness, this was so good. Such a great opening book, and especially we're kind of on this horror kick still. This is another horror book that I just think has been really well done so far. The grand picture of what this is all about is mind-blowing, and I'm really curious to see where it goes from there. Essentially, it is about this one unique character who has a connection to a lot of different individuals throughout the world, or I think it's throughout the world, or at least the United States. And so from there, basically, they all get invited back to this guy's house. They don't know each other. It's almost like a cult in a way. But then some crazy things happen on the news. I guess I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to give away issue number 1. I think I might just leave it kind of at that. It's a horror book. It's by James Tynion. That's kind of all you need to know. It's got some really cool variant covers as well. The main artist here, Alvaro Martinez Bueno, doing some great stuff on the interior work. And yes, it's only issue 2, so plenty of time to jump in if you haven't already. I do recommend checking out issue number 1 and going with it. I don't know how many issues this is going to be. I don't see if it says it anywhere. I don't know. I don't think it does. But yeah, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Really good read, though, issue number 1. So looking forward to this number 2 by James Tynion for DC Comics. So that is my number 4 pick on the week, The Nice House on the Lake, issue number 2. Jumping into number 3, again, these last 3 are really close. They are really close. But issue number 3, or I'm sorry, my pick number 3 is NOCTERRA, issue number 5. and that is a Scott Snyder book. If you guys have not been reading this or haven't heard about it, this was a book that kicked off recently from one of the, I think they had a Kickstarter for it. It was Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel, who obviously have done a lot of work in the past with Batman and other things. So Scott Snyder on the writing, the artwork by Tony S. Daniel. It has just been, it's been such a great book so far. If you guys are not familiar with it, basically takes place in the future where the world has gone dark. There is no sunlight, and because of this, they call it the PM, when the world went dark, basically. And the way that the people survive, they have to use like generated light or flashlights and things like that. And, they have to keep things well lit at all times. Otherwise, there are something within in the world that can actually turn you into like these, like, I don't know if they call them zombies or type of, they call them shades, I think, a human shade. So there's like monsters involved. There's some villains involved. And meanwhile, it's all about this one chick. Her name is Val Riggs, who essentially her job has been to kind of transfer goods and people to different towns safely in her big truck or rig that she drives. And it's all well lit and everything, but she has a younger brother that's tied involved, and yeah, so it's just been really good. I'll kind of leave it at that. A lot of stuff going on, but this is issue number 5 or part 5 of NOCTERRA. So I don't know how. I think this is ongoing. As far as I know, this is ongoing. So maybe if you missed out in these first couple of issues, maybe you want to wait for the trade, that might be worth it. Or if you can catch up, then I highly recommend doing that too, because this is just a really good read. So that's my number 3 pick on the week, NOCTERRA issue number 5. Jumping in, these last two are very close. I always say this, it's like it could be 1A, 1B. But I'm going to separate it to 2 and 1 for my pick. So my number 2 pick on the week is The Swamp Thing, issue number 5. This is written by Ram V. Ram V has just been killing everything that he's been doing. So many great books out there right now with Ram V. And this particular book, Swamp Thing, I was not really into Swamp Thing up until this started coming out. And I recently did a buddy read with Dan Comic Shop News and Jennifer from Comics Will Break Your Heart. John was there. Gambit was there, and we had a few other guests that were supposed to join us as well. It was just a lot of fun where we broke down not this Swamp Thing, but we talked about Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, issue number 1. And so that really, it all came out around the same time, where I was like reading Swamp Thing, and then I was coming out reading this book. So I just gave it a shot, and I am just in love with this book, Swamp Thing. It's a very dark, again, kind of talking about these horror type vibes. This is it. Like, this is totally something in that range, and this is a 10-issue series. This is issue number 5, so we're halfway through it. I hope we get even more than that. But if you don't know anything about it, I will say you don't need to know Alan Moore stuff. You don't necessarily need to know much history about Swamp Thing in general, because this particular Swamp Thing is a brand new character altogether. So it's Levi Kamei is his name, and that's who is kind of takes on the new mantle of Swamp Thing and is living in the green world. So this particular series has just been so great. John McCrae doing the artwork for this, and like I said, Ram V just doing a tremendous job. If you guys are not reading Swamp Thing, I don't care. Even if you're not a Swamp Thing person, if you've never read any Swamp Thing in your life, I think that this is well worth it. Obviously, you got to start with number 1, so go back, read issue number 1 if you can. Or, I mean, if you want to wait for the trade at this point, you're halfway through, you could do that as well. But you do have another 5 months or so before you get the whole thing. So it might be something you want to jump into now just to keep up, because it's very good. So yeah, just going to kind of leave it at that. Swamp Thing issue number 5 for my number 2 pick on the week. Before I get into my number 1, I do want to just take a moment. Again, thank you everybody who's in the premiere right now. Do me a favor. If you guys can jump out, leave a comment in the regular comment section below. Let me know what you guys think of this list. If you're watching this as a replay, do that as well. Just take a moment, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of this list. Let me know if you think I missed anything. Let me know if you think that there's anything that I should have added. I know in the past I've certainly missed some books before, like Bunny Mask. I completely left off my list when Bunny Mask issue 1 came out. I don't know how I missed it, but that was really great. So I'm human, and I'm just kind of going through what I can find, seeing what comes out this week coming up, July 7th. And so these are the books that I'm looking forward to, but I'm always looking for recommendations. So feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Also, reminders, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much for taking the time. And remember, this did premiere Thursday, 12:30 Eastern. So if you are into catching these on a little bit more of a live type of chat, or you want to talk while I'm there, you know, you can catch these on the premiere as well. And usually, I say usually because I did miss one of my own premieres once because of work and things came up, but usually I'm in the chat, like hopefully I am right now. So I know Copy and a few of you guys calling me out. So yeah, so always good to see everybody in the live premiere chat, and if not, all good too. Appreciate you taking that time to watch this rewind. So let's get into number one. Number one here on my list. Might be wondering, it might be a curveball to some of you, but I'm loving this series that much that I felt like it was well-deserved to be put at number one. This is part of a 5-issue series. This is America Chavez, Made in the USA, issue number 4, that I'm putting as my number one pick on the list this week. Man, oh man, this series has been so good. Again, this is kind of like Swamp Thing, where like I never really read any America Chavez, didn't know too much about it. I understand the character. I know a little bit about her. I know that she, you know, essentially might be showing up in the MCU, or that's already in progress or whatever. So I figure, well, let me like dive into this, since this is a little bit more about her origin story, or at least one of her origin stories, to kind of shed some light on how she came to be here on Earth, and a little bit more backstory on her family, her Earth family. So I am just loving everything that's going on in this. The writer, Kalinda Vasquez, doing a tremendous job on the writing. I know issue number 3 blew up because there's like this reveal, and I won't get into details, but I know a lot of people were picking up issue number 3, but I will tell you, if you did not pick up issues 1 and 2, like go back and just read this whole thing, because the story is just so good. And not to mention the artist, Carlos Gomez. Wow. Oh my goodness. Carlos, I knew Carlos Gomez on Instagram. I followed his work just from discovering him from hashtags and things like that. Did not realize any of his work that he's done in comic books up until this particular book. Now I have to go back and go find all his other work that he's done, because I am just in love with the guy's art. It is just so beautiful, so stunning. And this interior stuff, that alone is worth picking up this book, picking up this series, and reading along. So this is, let's see, it's a 5-issue, I believe this is 5-issue set. This is obviously issue number 4, so there's gonna be this one, there's gonna be one more after this. But it's really good. It's just really well done. So obviously putting it as my number one, I hope that speaks volumes for you to understand where it kind of stands on my level of you know, how I'm rating these books. So really taken by this book, America Chavez. Was not expecting it to be as good. I just didn't know what to expect. But I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I am. So definitely enjoying it. So make sure you guys are giving this a shot. I think it's worth it. Obviously, issue number 1, so, or it's my number 1 pick. So, but yeah, I think there are, yeah, no, there's one variant for this. But anyway, so that is my number 1 pick, America Chavez. What's called Made in the USA, or issue number 4. That's my number 1 pick. And again, these are all books coming out July 7th. 2021, so this following Wednesday, New Comic Book Day. Hope you guys are getting all the books that you are after each and every week. I hope you guys are enjoying the content that I'm putting here. Please let me know, like I said, in the comment section below, if you're enjoying that. And hey, a quick reminder again, if you missed or didn't see my my giveaway video for hitting my 750 subscribers, I'm doing that giveaway, so make sure you go check that out. I put the description or I put the link in the description below. Make sure you review that, get your name submitted in there, do what is mentioned in the video, the 3 things that you have to do in order to get entered, and you could win some pretty cool books. So again, that's just a thank you from me to you, everybody here that supported me and has continued to support me throughout this 750 subscribers that I've grown my channel to. It's just been tremendous, and I said this in the video, but just meeting so many great people amongst this comic book community, especially in the YouTube side of the family. family, and of course Instagram. Like, it's just been amazing all around. So just wanted to take some time and do a little giveaway to give back and thank everybody. So wow, I'm almost up to a half hour. I think this is my longest video that I've done for these, so I apologize, or I hope that you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out, and I know I sure am. But yeah, so that's going to be it for today, or for this week. Again, good luck. Hope you all get the books that you're looking for next week for New Comic Book Day. There's so many more than the ones I just talked about. I just try to condense them to 10. So that's, I always like to point that out. But Wonder Woman, like I said, it's kind of like the 11th. I think Wonder Woman would be up here as well. Or I'm sorry, Wonder Girl. That would be up here as well, though, if I didn't already talk about it last episode. So, but anyways, that is it for now. For now, make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, I will talk to you later.